Hey everybody and welcome to Stitchwick Creations. This video is in collaboration with Falling Varja, Cloud Dolls, Harley's Dollhouse and myself. I'm using this Spectra doll that I had started for a Sanrio project, but nobody's heard of Unico, so I'm afraid, West Wind, you are my next victim. I'd asked everybody on my community channel page thing which head they would like to be used for the next Christmas thing, and everyone chose Scara, but I was running very close with time and I had this doll that was ready and prepped and I just needed to take her face off, so sorry guys, forgive me for that one, but needs must at this point. I have had a very busy December. Now I've removed her old face with 100% acetone, I'm going to show you this special little book which I have got, which is made by another YouTuber called Dolly Mixtures, and it's fantastic. So I sketched out my concept idea on here. So she is a winter witch, queen thing, I'm not quite sure what, but I did a couple of sketches and this book's fab for planning designs. I always have ideas about what costumes to make over how the doll's going to turn out in the end. And it's a really good place to keep all your stuff together because I tend to lose my sketches everywhere. So I'm just doing some shading with different pastels. I am in dire need of some new ones, they're running low. But I'm using mostly cold colours on this. I'm trying not to put any warmth into it at all. She's going to be stern and grumpy madam, so lots of blues, trying to keep it nice and pale and keep the focus on her eyes because she's going to be quite... evil's the wrong word. Just stony cold. Ice cold. Ice queen. Ice cream. By saving the darker colours for her eye sockets, it makes her eyes seem quite deep. I'm using a kneaded eraser to get rid of the darker colour on the sclera and where the detail of the eye is going to be. Kneaded rubbers are really useful for this kind of stuff. They're good for just tapping off bits of pastel dust and bringing the light back. This lilac colour is about as warm as I have got on this doll. I do use a brush later on that's got some pink stuck into it, but luckily that was just on some blushing on her boobs and her elbows and shoulders. So now using some watercolour pencils I am sketching in her eyes, and because the previous paint job has left some staining, I've got to make sure that it's covering up the stains that have been left behind. Luckily she's pretty much looking the same. The only difference is I used only acrylics on the last paint job, so this time she's got a bit more subtlety in her. And I can use my little book that I've done my sketches in to keep me on track with my little idea that I had earlier. Before I seal this layer in, I'm going to use some Pearl powder and add some Christmas sparkle because she's all shiny and sparkly and icy, and she needs to be sparkly, and the glitterness gets a bit crazy later on. I don't have regrets, I love glitter. But yes, more sparkles. Now I've sealed my sketch layer in and I'm happy with the shapes of the eyes, I'm going to go in with a darker colour and lay down some darker tones. I tend to colour the tops of the irises darker, as if the top eyelid's casting a shadow, and I'm going to give this one a go with the thing with the eyelashes where they're facing down rather than facing up, because she's meant to be looking down on everybody beneath her, because that's just how she rocks. This little pink brush thing is a spoolie for adding false eyelashes and brushing them through and removing them, and they're so useful for doing really concentrated bits of colour. I will leave a link in the box below so you can get some as well if you want to try and use those. I'm just using it to sharpen up the details of her collarbone, because she's going to be wearing a corseted thing. You'll be able to see them underneath, well, not even underneath her clothes, you'll be able to see them where her clothes don't cover. I'm using a cotton bud to blend the colours in where I've shaped her collarbones, just so they look a bit less drawn on and more natural, as you can get on a plastic doll. Just going to put some more Pearl-Ex on this layer, make her nice and shiny and shimmery, make her sparkly. I spent quite a while deliberating whether to give her eyebrows or not. I decided that eyebrows would make her look a little bit too friendly, and like I said before, she's meant to be cold in all senses of the word. So here I'm just doing a bit more on the eyes, again doing the darker colours on the outer parts of the iris to give it more shape, and lighter at the very bottom centre of the iris that gives it that more realistic look. Here I'm using some liquid acrylic silver paint to add some shine to her eyelids to make it look like she's got silvery eyeshadow on. And this stuff doesn't apply very thickly, so you can see all of the pencil mark underneath, and it adds to the 3D-ness of it. It makes her eyes look really deep and really, I don't know, just really big. And some little silver flecks in the bottom part of her iris for some shimmer. Now for some frantic filming skirt stuff. This is a lace applique that I bought off Amazon ages ago, and I thought it would be a really nice accent to have on the skirt as a train. So here I'm pinning it to a piece of organza with the plan to tack it very carefully onto it, and then you have to cut the lace away that the applique is sewn onto. So here I'm just tacking it. I'm only catching a few stitches on the back of the actual embroidery so it doesn't show through on the front, and like magic, 'tis done. So I'm trimming the lace away, and I didn't quite like the pink rosy thing with all the sparkly bits on it. It just didn't seem to flow with the rest of it, so that's gone. And then I spent some time snipping away all the lacy bits in between so you could see the organza through it rather than the matte lace. So whizzing through, I'm making a waistband which I'm going to fold up into quarters and fold the circle, because it's a circle skirt, into quarters as well. So I've got a hole that will fit around the waist and a little snippet down the back so that I can actually fit her bum through. So there we go, all fits. Now I couldn't find my gloss varnish, so I cheated and used some of the resin and set that with the UV light, and actually I really like the effect because I only put it on the iris. It makes the iris look rounded like a normal iris, and actually for the photographs worked really, really well because it just catches the edge of the shape. I've fray checked all the edges. This stuff frays like nobody's business, and then pinned the wrong way round because I'm a muppet, the waistband to the skirt, which I hand sewed because it was too small to go into the sewing machine. And yes, I'm covered in blue pastels, and I'm a messy bugger. So that's all pinned together. It gets sewn together. It gets jigged about a bit. It is not my tidiest job. I'm not very proud. So for this corset, I'm trying something that I saw someone on Instagram called Worlds Within Worlds use. It's using Mod Podge and a piece of stretchy fabric and painting it and then pinning it to a body that's covered with cling film. So I have a poor dummy body that's broken and only got the tops of her arms. So I coated the one side in the Mod Podge, and then we'll be clipping it at the back so it keeps its shape. I should probably have trimmed it down before I glued it because that was a bit difficult. But learning process, learning curve, more like a roller coaster, but there we go. And then I've coated it, the front in it as well, and I just left it on a radiator to dry overnight. And by the morning it was all set. Many pegs were used in the making of this doll. Instead of a clasp this time I went for an elasticated waist, and I've got some of this elastic with organza already ruffled onto it, which was perfect. So I wanted to do sleeves, so I've wrapped some of the elasticy stuff around an arm so I know how much to take, and I will be sewing that and attaching some more organza to the bottom of it so they've got long flowy arms. I hope that makes sense. Here I'm cutting out some more crystal organza into a veil shape. This is going to be attached to the sleevey things, so she's got nice flowy sleeves, and I'm fray checking all the edges because it frays like a bugger, but it was worth it in the end. It looks pretty shiny. Back to this bit of lace, I'm doing a couple of tacky stitches all the way through the top so I can ruffle it and then attach it as a train to the circle skirt. So nothing special here, just some tacking. And that is Puka, my dog, barking downstairs. That's how loud she is. So after doing all of that hand stitching, I get the sewing machine out and do some stitching that could have been done just as easily by hand, but I couldn't be bothered. I was really tired and I was running very late and tight on time. In fact, this video, my partners in this video have released theirs a few days before. I'm really sorry, guys. And I wasn't going to stitch this trim on the bottom of the circle skirt by hand, so this was a fiddly as anything to do. So it's just a running stitch and some lace over the top, and me regretting not fray checking this skirt because every so often it would just pull ever so slightly and it would pull a load of threads out with it. So there was a combination of gluing and stitching. Now the corsety thing is dried, I'm trying to prise it off without overstretching it too much and trimming bits away, but actually I didn't give it credit for how solid it was, and I was able to just wrench it off and then trim all the bits and pieces off and pull the cling film out of it. So I've just cut it into shape from this point and glued extra bits of fabric and trimmings over the top to make it look very elaborate. I use these helping hands to hold the body in place so I could test and place the fabrics on it, which is very handy. That's why they're called helping hands, I guess. Again with the Mod Podge, I'm going to put a layer of it over where I want to stick the fabric, and then I've got a piece of the same silver from the skirt that I'm going to add as the side panels for the corset. And the good stuff with this is you can stick it on and hold it on with the little clips and then trim it to size at the end, or glue it behind itself so it's tidier. And then I'm just going to repeat the other side. I'm adding some flat back pearls onto the front of the skirt. I've put a cutting board in between the layers so it doesn't stick to the layers underneath, so it's still free flowing. And I'm going to use some of these little pearls and stick them on the long floaty sleeves as well. I mentioned glitter earlier, and I decided after putting the pearls on the sleeves that they were lacking just a little bit, so I may have gone a bit glitter crazy, and now everything is covered with glitter and I don't care. So of course the corset gets the same glitter treatment. I coat it liberally with some glue and then I soak it in more glitter and more glitter and more glitter and more glitter. From sparkly to brown stuff, this is Chavant. It's a modelling clay that I use at work to do sculpting on armour. So I'm just warming it up in my hands. It's brilliant for making moulds. So I had a plan to make an icicle crown, and I don't have anything that would be any good for UV silicone. So I had a plan to make some one-sided icicles in this stuff. So once it's heated, it's really malleable. And as it cools it gets a bit more solid. So I've covered it in cling film, trying to keep it warm in my hands, and whilst I'm doing that I'm going to get a tool, see what's best, and sculpt some icicle shapes into it, and hopefully the cling film will stop it, the UV resin, adhering to the Chavant itself, because that'd make it a yucky brown colour. Now I've got a shape that I like, I'm going to use the Pearl-Ex powder to add a bit of colour and give it, hopefully stop it sticking to the cling film. So I'm using the UV resin and I'm just laying it into the shape that I've made, and see if this test icicle will work. I'm using my little UV torch to set it, and the connection's not quite great inside it, so I every so often have to give it a bash. I also put some Pearl-Ex over the top once it had cured, and then I could pop it out and it appears to have worked. I can trim off any of the excess with a little pair of scissors, and I've got little spiky crown pieces ready to go. I'm just going to make a whole load of them in different shapes and sizes and go from there. So to make the crown, I've got some craft wire which I am sticking a piece of ribbon to wrap around the top to hide the wire a bit. And yes, I'm using resin again because I don't have any quick drying glue or super glue to hand, and I was really running out of time. Now I've got the base of the crown wrapped in ribbon, I can use the UV torch to set the icicles that I've made onto the tiara shape. I've stuck it in the chevron again, it's very useful, so I don't have to use the helping hands to hold it up, and I can roll it about as and when is needed. Another good thing about using the UV resin is that you can set the different spikes at different angles, so it gives this crown a fuller look and it gives it a bit more interest in its shape. And to finish it off, I'm just going to put another layer of UV resin around the back and the front of it to give it some extra hold. So back on the bodice, I've got some sparkly ribbon which I am going to be gluing down the sides to give the corset a panelled effect, like a normal sized person corset. And I think the glittery sparkly bit has worked very nicely. Again, with the clothes pegs, very useful. Now I'm going to add some more sparkle to the crown. I've got some of these really pretty starry shaped nail accessory glittery stuff for nail art. I'm just going to use the resin again to put some more sparkles on it and make it look like it's twinkling in the sunlight. While I was looking for more sparkly stuff to put on the crown, I found a load of stuff for nail art. So I've got some nail caviar here that I'm adding to make it look like it's snow, and I find some gems and bits and pieces to add to it too. So I don't usually do shoes for dolls for some reason, not even sure why. But I found these boots from, I think they're from an Elsa doll, and I gave them a coat of white. And as I said, I was really running late on this one, so this was just she needs some shoes, quick, do something. And these are the best that I could find in short notice. I would have liked to have done something more, made the toes a bit more pointy and curly, but as I said, running out of time, I was already really late and I needed to get this done as soon as possible. I might make some different boots for her in the future, I'm not quite sure. So back with the bodice, I'm just putting some glue here so I can add some sparkles to match with some of the sparkles that I've added to the crown. Just kind of ties it all together and gives it an overlying theme. I'm just adding a pearlescent colour I've got from Arteza that doesn't really show up on the camera very well, but it's like got a pinky shimmer to it. It's a bit iridescent. It's very pretty. It looks better in real life. That's a shame you can't really see it. I'm adding some really thick glue here, and then I'm going to dip the shoe in more glitter so it looks like she's been walking through the snow. Put the crown on her head and secured it with a loop and a braid. Now she's ready to have her clothes put on her. The bodice just clips around her like this, and then we can put the skirt on, her sleeves, and then her boots. It worked out better if I put the skirt on first and then the bodice, but you know, lessons learned. As I was putting her boots on, I realised I wanted to scuff off the white where all the decorations were, so the blue would shine through, so it all joined up together. So just quickly doing that. Now her boots are on, I can take her for a little photo shoot. I'm really happy with how she turned out. She looks like the Ice Queen that has spring trailing behind her and she's keeping it from turning up just yet. We've had a pretty mild winter this year, so no snow for photos sadly. Here are the other collaborators' dolls. I would really encourage you to go and have a look at their videos. I'll leave them in the description box below. If anybody is interested in buying the Winter Queen, then she will be up on my Etsy shop. There's a link at the end of the video. Please give me a thumbs up if you like the video, or a thumbs down if you didn't like it. I am learning some new software at the moment, so this is completely new to me, different way of doing everything. So sorry if it seems a bit strange. I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming. Please leave comments. Please subscribe if you want to see any future stuff, and I look forward to reading all of the comments. Thank you very much, guys. See you soon. This is my last video of the year. It's been a year, a whole year. Thanks guys for following me. Cheers.